Hey guys, welcome back to Sophisticakes by Mary. For this video, I'm going to show you how I made this really pretty pastel butterfly and iridescent globe buttercream cake. I think this is so pretty. We are at the tail end of summer, so I figured why not do at least one more pastel before we start going with the fall color. So I hope you like this one. So we're going to get our cakes coated in buttercream, and I will link the recipe and the video where I make this buttercream, show you how to do it, in the description below, and I'll try to remember to add a tag as always, which I don't always remember to do, but I try. So this buttercream is typically an bubble-free, bright white buttercream. So it works really well for this type of a cake when I want the really light white background. So I'm just putting it on with my offset spatula and smoothing it down as best I can with that to get the excess off. And once I get a good coating on there, I'm going to use my plastic scraper. I like the plastic. You can use metal, whatever you prefer. I just happen to like the plastic because it's lighter weight. And we're just leveling out our sides, smoothing them out. And yeah, I like the plastic. But you do have to watch that you don't get them too scratched up on that edge that you're scraping with, because they do get dented up pretty easy, and that can cause some lines in your cake. So they're cheap, but you might have to replace them a little bit more often. That's all. And I like to use one that is a little higher than the height of the cake, because that's going to push your buttercream up above the rim so that you can smooth it or scrape it off, whichever way you're going to do it. And for this time, I'm going to go ahead and scrape it off at the end. So I popped it into the freezer for a good 20 minutes until it is set up and firm. And I do the same thing with the bottom tier. I'm going for a really sharp corner, and I have yet to do this technique. And I really liked it. And I've seen it around for a little while, and just kind of, we're creatures of habit. I just do it the way I have always done it. But yeah, I really did like it. And I can see that it would work really well with ganache, especially with chilled firm ganache. But we're doing buttercream this time, and it still worked really well. That's just water I'm spraying because it helps to smooth out my buttercream. I've had a lot of people asking me that recently. That's all it is. It's just room temperature water. And I did pull the buttercream into the middle one time, smooth the sides again, so that I don't have as thick of a rim around the top. And so this is after it has been chilled. And I'm just using my scraper, holding my hand still and level, and just scraping off that excess rim. Now you might have to fill in a little bit. I did have to fill in a little bit, and then go ahead and re-scrape. But when your cakes are chilled, this is a lot easier. So really, it didn't take me any more time. In fact, it probably took me a little less time. And I'm really pleased with the sharpness of the corners. Now we're going to do the same thing with our bottom tier. And while we're working on this, I have that top tier in the freezer, making sure that it is nice and firm for when we stack our tiers. I always like to have my tiers that I'm stacking chilled, firm to the touch. Yeah, as you can see, I'm touching it there just to make sure that it's firm. And then I put a board on top, flip it over, remove the bottom and that tape. And I just flip it back over and I stack it on top of my bottom tier. Now there are straws in between the tiers, and there's a little bit of buttercream on top. Those straws are all cut to the right height of the cake. I just don't have the footage of that, but that's all that is. And then I am damming in between the tiers with a little bit of buttercream, not damming, but caulking, and just scraping the excess. And for the pastels, I used a very pale yellow, a pink, and a baby blue. So what I'm doing here to use the spatula technique to get these the swipes of buttercream on there nice and thin, I'm just spreading it on the board so that I use the same technique that you use when you're loading up your palette knife for buttercream flowers. I'm just kind of scraping in at an angle. Try to make sure that you are varying the lengths of the buttercream on that palette knife so you get varying textures and different visual effects. You can use some more just at the tip of the spatula. You can line the whole thing with the buttercream. Just kind of change it up as you go. And you don't always have to swipe from the same side. You can swipe from the other side to give it a little bit more visual interest again. And I did the same thing on both tiers. I wanted the background of this with the buttercream, the pastel buttercream, to be the same, not exactly the same, but to be fluid through the whole thing. Then we moved on to our pale pink, and then we'll move on to our baby sky blue. And just do this randomly. Don't overthink it. And sometimes you can layer the colors on top of each other. That's fine too. If you layer too much or move it around too much and blend it too much, you might get a tertiary color. But I mean, if you're okay with that, that's fine. You might get a purple in there. Who knows? Now I'm just using some dragées, some white pearl dragées, just kind of scattered around. You could go ahead and throw them at the cake if you want, but that white buttercream had set up, so it's got a crust on it, and I wanted it to be more on the white and a little bit on the colors. So throwing it at it, they would have just bounced back off. So I'm just dipping my finger in water and then dipping it in the dragées and then transferring it onto the cake that way. Then I'm just individually placing a medium-sized dragée, and then I will end up going in, there we go, with the larger. I did very few of the large ones because I didn't want to overwhelm it with the large dragées. It's just for, you know, an added little touch of something with the dragées. And then these globes, spheres, whatever you want to call them, they're ornaments is what they are without the metal part. But if you just use them and stick that part of the ornament into the buttercream or where the towards buttercream, and you don't really see those as much, then they're just iridescent spheres or globes, depending on what you want to call them. And then we have these wafer paper butterflies that were purchased online, and some of you can attach them to wires if you want to. They come with them. I'll try to find these so I can link it where you can get them. So you can add some height to some so that there's more the look of they're in flight. And here is our final product. And I gotta say, guys, I'm a big fan. I am a big fan of this design. This was a request at the bakery. It's not something I came up with. I just did what I was told. And I think it's really pretty. So I hope you liked it too. And I don't know, maybe one or two more summer cakes. We'll see. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch my video. And if you'd like to watch some other videos, go ahead and click on the link to one of these other videos shown here. And if you would like to check out my other social media, I am on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, Sophisticakes by Mary. And please take the time to share, like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you know when I upload another video. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next tutorial.